PTBR, right, for AMO?
PTBR. Pascal's done it for French.
Okay.
And Guillermo's done it for ESAR.
Okay, so we have
ES.
ESAR.
Oh, ES. Just ES.
It's ES. Okay. So that's another part of the add-ons localization. The site is actually localized so that when visitors come there. What tool did you use when you did you?
The tool was pretty much
An editor?
my process was tool/process was checking myself, but checking quickly and dirty, and then let folks review just the patch to different folks. So I just checked in everything, and I sent to various contributors that didn't know the technology barrier, and they just patched my Portuguese, and then they checked back.
Okay. And Pascal, what did you do for FR? Did you use?
Text editor.
And so these are PO files, right? Or
yeah, the first version was not a real PO file, so I could not use PO tools.
Okay.
So I was using a text editor. The French localization has been a bit outdated for a while, but in the last few years.
and you just used an editor too.
Yeah, it was
right?
AI.
You
And
just typed on a
now
file.
that we have switched to normal PO file, I'm using PO edit, but some might switch back to
Okay.
editor.
So PO
Because there
editor.
are bugs in PO edit or in the way we do the PO file.
Guillermo, what did you use? Did you just use an editor, or did you use?
The Spanish localization use Photo, like in a web user file.
Yeah, it's Poodle had books in it.
So those are the options for getting, and that's kind of the first step. That was the first step with PTBR, is to get a site so that users could visit the site, they could read about the add-ons, because when a large majority of add-ons don't have much UI associated with them. So if you can tell users what the add-on is about and what it does on the AMO site, you're mostly the way there to providing some reasonable level of support.
That's right. Like my add-on's a perfect example. Really, the only localizable information in that add-on is the metadata about the add-on. Everything else is just in the Chrome. It's one button that you hit. So the whole point is that because there's an ES version in AMO, users could come, and I'll now upload my localizable add-on now that I started the process. But that would be how it would work, and that's how it works. Verbatim is intended to work alongside all this stuff, and like anything, I'll demo it tomorrow in the localization tools discussion. It's all optional. If you want to continue to use a code editor and just do it straight check-ins to the SVN repository, you can do that. And by the way, any question throughout this whole week, if it hasn't been said, is fair game. So if I say things like checking into an SVN repository and you have no idea what that means, just stop me and ask me. But I'm sure a lot of you already know that. Okay. So those are some of the open issues that I see for localization. Does anybody have any issues that they wanted to put up as further stuff to talk about?
The amount of in AMO, going back a little bit, the flows or the user flows have more like a calendar based. It's becoming, the feeling that I have is calendar based, events based. Sometimes I'm not sure like if things are part of the platform or it's actually part of a story, that it's a temporary story. So then you have a feeling when looking at your files that the conferences are, you easily get lost. And in my case, like, we start localizing a bunch of random things, parts, and then suddenly I realized that the actual more geeky part for the authors could be kept in English for a while, and I missed 2 or 3 things for the end users.
So for those who haven't had a chance to go through this laborious process of actually localizing the add-ons platform website, the point that Marcio is making is that it can get the context can vary. And the developers who go on a 3-week release schedule will check in all these new changes to the UI. Will have an impact on the user interface. But then as translators go through, there may not be a clear reason exactly what they're translating, what's the context of the string, how temporary is it, who's the intended audience. So like the entire developer tools platform on AMO is a very technical like part of the website, and maybe it doesn't need to be localized straight away, you know, because that's going to be for an audience that in all likelihood could be bilingual, speaking English as a second language. So maybe you can just work on other stuff first. So the improvement process there that we need to work on is creating a very achievable phase list. If you want the basics of the front page, do this stuff. Phase 2, if you want to localize tools, do these things.
With Marcio's comments, I just remember the node idea that I never implemented, but maybe it could help. I once tried to localize an application, and I noticed that there is this problem with the context. You don't really know what the exact meaning of something, but it could be translated several different ways depending on context. Then I thought that perhaps it would be nice to have a way to use the actual software as the translation platform. If you make a widget that extends the original one, just as a GTK label that has an extended behavior of, just like the subtitles thing, that you see the actual application as an environment for translation.
Yeah.
We needed to figure out how to implement such thing.
Yeah, so that's a really terrific point. You see this more and more with web platforms and web applications, websites that are looking for translation. You see exactly what you just described. And there are two guys working on the Verbatim project right now alongside me. I'm not coding anything. But there's a guy named Gandalf, that's his IRC nickname, maybe you've heard of him. And there's a web dev guy, his name is Fred Wenzel. His IRC nickname is Wenzel. Those two are developing Verbatim right now. And Wenzel has a prototype, exactly what you just said. So you could go in and you could change the strings of the AMO website and commit them, and they would land in your repository. And you never have to leave the site, but you as an admin for the site, for the PTBR localization, could go into that, could log in under your admin rights and edit the PTBR. It's only a prototype at this point, but that's the idea.
But I was actually thinking about Firefox itself and the application itself.
Firefox itself we could do too, like, that's a big fish to fry.
Is the Verbatim a Firefox extension or not?
Verbatim is a web platform built on Google.
Oh, so
It's
a remote service.
It's a remote service. We'll host a server.
Yeah, so
And we could do exactly what you're talking about.
the-
We could
the
localize
subtitle style would be an extension in the client that allows you to edit directly
That's right.
the strings of others.
we can.
And that's, I don't think that's as big as for Firefox, but for extensions.
Your suggestion was for Firefox
For add-ons.
I was suggesting to run Firefox in edit mode.
in edit mode.
So Firefox itself is the interface.
Yeah. And you're
For
saying,
editing an extension.
For editing, Firefox is user
I'm
interface.
thinking for
And-
add-ons.
and you guys and an
Eventually
extension.
announced.
Are you planning to have APIs for Verbatim?
Yes.
So presumably one could write an extension for Firefox that allows you to edit other Firefox strings and communicate.
Yeah, like anything at Mozilla right now, the sources are hosted on our servers, they're fully accessible. So what we've done to customize the Poodle platform to work for Verbatim is all out there. And anybody who wants to contribute to it can go in. Well, what the next step would be to expose some APIs to allow this to happen. It's a work in progress. But the Firefox UI is a big fish to fry. Doing an add-on inside Firefox that allows to edit add-ons is another interesting concept. I think we're closer to that. And I'm not sure we're going to do that. Only because there's a lot of great stuff happening in the world of L10N right now. And for those localizers who want to have a web tool to localize Firefox, even though it wouldn't be an edit Firefox on the fly situation, they're with the awesome bar, they're one keystroke away from getting to an external web service like Naro like Poodle, and they can